Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to week 51 of the Stash Buster block series. Our block this week is called Chain Star and I made it out of 4 different colors. We've got red, white, blue, and yellow, and you can see it's made with 4 patches and quarter square triangles. So I hope you'll stay with me and I'll show you how to put this block together. Okay, for the Chain Star block, here are the fabrics that you're going to need. For color number 1, you'll need 6 2.5-inch squares. Color number 2, you'll need 6 2.5-inch squares. Color 3, 2 5 1/4-inch squares. And color 4, you'll need 2 5 1/4-inch squares plus 8 2.5-inch squares. So with these, what we're going to do is make quarter square triangles. So you're going to take your lighter color, which for me is white, and you're going to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of each one of these. So just choose a corner and just draw a line from side to side, and you can use any kind of marking tool. I'm just going to use a pencil because it's handy, and do that on both squares. Now we're going to place those squares right sides together with the color 3 5 1/4-inch squares. Like that. And now we're going to sew these like we do half square triangles. We're going to sew a 1/4 inch from this drawn line on both sides. So I have my 1/4 inch piecing foot on, and I have a 50 weight thread in the bobbin as well as the needle, and I'm just going to sew 1/4 inch away on both sides of the drawn line. And I'm just swinging around. Sew the other side. And pull that one out of the way and just do the next piece. Swing it around to the other side. And then I'm going to clip these apart and clip off the loose threads. And now I want to cut this right down the line that is drawn. So we're just going to, you can use your rotary cutter if you want to, but my scissors are right here by my machine. So I'm going to cut them with the scissors. My rotary mat is across the room, so it's not handy here. Okay, now we need to press, and what we're going to do is press towards the dark. Okay, so I'm going to press these flat and then press open. So we got one. And you can use steam if you want to. I do have my steam turned on. It's not on high, but it is on. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to line these up. So we're going to put right sides together, but we're going to put opposite colors on top of each other. So these are going to, the seams are going to nest together. So they're going to, you know, push together like here, just like you do when you're piecing. And we will take care of these little tips in a minute. These little dog ears. So I want the raw edges even, and I want this seam nesting. And another thing we're going to do is draw another line. So take the ruler again, and we're going to draw it perpendicular to the seam. So you can do that before you line them up. I'm going to go ahead and use my chalk pencil on this end since I can't see my pencil line on that fabric. So let's just do that on this one before I line everything up. Now if you have one of the seam tape guides on your machine, then you might not need to do this, but I don't have that. So okay, so we're going to line these all up, and here's a place where it's good to pin so that things don't shift, because you're trying to line up the raw edges as well as keep the seams nested together. So let me get a couple of pins, and I'm just going to pin these. So that one's ready to go. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from this drawn line on both sides. And swing it around and do the other side. Make sure my seam stays down. Let me get that pin out of the way. And I'll pull that out of the way and then just start on the next one. And make sure these are lined up. These out and cut them apart and cut off any loose threads, and then remove my pins, so I don't want to cut into them. And now I'm going to cut along the drawn line here. Okay, and there you should have a 1/4 square triangle. So do the same for this pair, and we'll have a total of 4 1/4 square triangles. So let's press these open. So I want to press the seam flat and then just press it open. And if you like your seams pressed open, you can do that. I'm just going to press them to one side. Okay, now I need to trim all of these little dog ears off. Okay, so now we have 4 of these, and these will make the star points. So these will be the points. The blue will be the points of the star. So now we need to make 4 patches, and we have a couple of different sets of those. So we need to make 2 sets that are blue and yellow. So let's take 4 yellow squares and 4 white squares. I'm going to set them together, and then we need 2 red and white 4 patch units. So we're going to take 4 red squares and 4 white squares, and then our last square is going to be red and yellow, so we need 2 reds and 2 yellows. So we're going to make 4 patch units out of these. Okay, so I'm just going to chain piece these together. I'm going to start with the red and yellow 4 patch unit, and I'm going to just place the pieces right sides together and stitch them with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And just going to chain piece all of these together. So we're going to press these towards the darker fabric in each one of these. So for the red and white, or red and yellow, I'd press towards the red, and for the others I would press towards the color away from the white. So I'm going to get that going, and then I'll be I have to cut these apart, and then we will turn them so that opposite colors are meeting, butt up the seam, and then stitch down here. So I'm going to press these open, and then we'll start sewing them together. Okay, so I got the dark on top, and press it open. I'm going to set those aside, and then I'm going to snip these all apart, otherwise I get confused. Now, some people get confused when they snip them apart, but I get confused if I leave them together, so I'm going to take them apart. And then we'll get to the yellows. I'm going to snip them apart. I'm just leaving them all, whoops, it almost snipped my fabric. I'm going to just keep them all together though, so that they're all handy when I'm sewing them together. So now we're ready to sew these together into 4 patch units. Okay, so I'm just going to butt these up so that the seams nest together, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam. And I'm just going to chain piece all of these together. Help save a little bit of time. So now I'm going to work on the red and the white. Okay, so now I'm just gonna clip these apart and get them ready to press open. So I'm just gonna press them flat and then press them to one side. And it doesn't really matter which side they're pressed to, or you can press them open if you prefer. So I'm just gonna do that to all of the 4 patches. Just one right after the other. And my iron does have some steam on it, but it's down on low, it's not on very high. And it is on the hottest setting that I have. So now once these are all pressed, now we're ready to lay out the block and then sew it together. So here are all the pieces, and I'm going to start in that corner with the red and the white, and then place the star points next to it. And I have the blue are the star points, so those are going to go next to the 4 patch blocks there. And then we're going to put in the yellow block, and those colored squares are all going to point towards the center, and the very center block the colors are going to match up, so red to red and yellow to yellow. And then place the star points on either side, and you can see here where I have them laying out so that the white is next to that center 4 patch unit. And then I have the last row with the yellow and the white, and then the quarter square triangle piece, and then the red and the white. So now I'm going to sew these together in sections. So I'm going to sew the first 2 pieces of the rows together, and I'm going to chain piece them together. So I'm just going to lay them one on top of the other. The center row I'm just going to turn over onto the first row there, and then I'll go ahead and sew all of those together in a chain piece fashion, and then I'll add the last piece of each row. Now I've pressed all my rows, and what I did was I pressed out from the star points. So on the back you can see the press towards the 4 patch units, and I did that because for one, that's the way they wanted to lay. When I laid them out on my pressing mat, they all kind of went that direction. And for another thing, I do have points I need to match right now, so I want to be able to see where the stitching lines cross up here so that I can do that. So I'm going to put rows 1 and 2 together, and I'm going to match these points, and I'm going to go in right where the star point is here on the first one, and that's just to the right side of where those stitching lines meet, and you can see that comes out right near the tip of that point. Get over just a little bit closer. There we go. So we got that. And then I'm going to go in to this star point right there where it comes where all three of those colors meet. And now I'm going to line up that seam so that the seam is nested together and that my pin is straight. I don't want my pin going like that. I don't want it going like that. I want it to be perpendicular. So I'll put that there and then repin it and do the same to this side. So I'm going to go through this point here and that point there. So we'll line those up and then pin. Okay, and then sew this one together. And then I'm going to stitch just to the right side of where those stitching lines cross by maybe a fabric thread or two. And let me line this block up. There we go. And then do the same here. Get my seam to go down. Okay, and then I'm going to check my points. And they look pretty good. So let's add the third row and I'll do the same thing with those points. There we go. This one I had trouble seeing the point where the lines cross there, so I had to lift up the presser foot and take a look at that, but I think, yeah, I got that. So here we go. So now we're going to press the block and take a closer look at it. Okay, so when you press this one, you can do whatever you want. If you like to press your seams open, do that. You can press towards the center or away from the center. I need to move my machine a little bit, so I keep whacking it with my iron. There we go. Now this block, you can see I have extra fabric like here and here and here and there. So I'll have to get out my 12.5 inch square ruler and square this up. So, but then it'll be ready to go into a quilt. But here we go. This is the chain star block. Here are 4 of the chain star blocks pinned up on my design wall, and you can see the path that the 4 patches make with the red and the yellow squares, and in the center then it forms a double 4 patch block there. So Now this one you can turn the blocks a little bit, and let me show you that. So I can turn them so that the 4 patches line up. Put red to red and yellow to yellow. So here is all the reds together, so you get a different look that way. You've got the yellows forming a box around it, and then you've got the red going through like an X. So that's a different look. And then what you would get on the opposite side is you would see the X would be yellow and then the box would be red. So it's a different way of looking at it. So you can do it however you want. You could have it with opposite colors meeting or with same colors meeting, and you get a couple of different looks that way. Well, that's it for the chain star block, and I hope you enjoyed this one. The half square triangles may seem a little bit intimidating, but once you know how to do them, then you'll realize they really aren't that difficult. So I hope you'll give this block a try. I did it in 4 different colors so that you'll have 2 different chains, but you can do them all the same color if you want to, and instead of having a 4 patch in the center, you could do just a single patch if you want, or just pick different colors. It doesn't have to be the same colors. So I do hope you'll give this one a try. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.